Have you ever trusted someone completely only to discover they were hiding a devastating secret? What would you do if the person you sacrificed everything for turned out to have betrayed you in ways you couldn't imagine? This is Kate's story, a tale of love, loss, and the shocking truths that changed her life forever. It was a rainy Monday morning, and Kate Jones woke up to the sound of her alarm clock echoing in the tiny, run-down apartment she shared with her ailing father, John. The room was dimly lit, the rain tapping against the windows, as if echoing the heaviness in her heart. Kate moved quickly, pouring herself a cup of coffee and setting out food for her orange tabby cat, Max. The worn-out carpet, frayed furniture, and persistent ceiling leaks reminded her how much she had sacrificed to keep their modest life afloat. Her father's door creaked as she entered with his medications. John Jones lay in bed, his frail body a stark contrast to the lively man she remembered from her childhood. Despite his condition, he greeted her with a warm smile, kissing her forehead as he took the pills from her hand. "Good morning, sweetheart," he said, his voice soft but full of love. Kate tried to smile back, but her eyes betrayed her. "Everything's fine, Dad," she lied, brushing off his concern. She hurried out of the room, unwilling to burden him with the weight of her troubles. Little did she know, her life was about to spiral into chaos. Kate's job at the hospital was supposed to be her escape, but it had become a battlefield. Rick Donovan, the chief surgeon, had turned her workplace into a nightmare. His actions started subtly, a lingering stare here, a brush of his hand on her shoulder there. But his behavior had escalated, culminating in an incident in the locker room weeks ago when he cornered her and made an inappropriate remark. She had slapped him and walked out, furious and humiliated. Since then, Kate had been on edge. Rick had power, connections, and a vindictive streak that left her constantly looking over her shoulder. That morning, her worst fears came true. The hospital administrator called her into the office and, with a cold expression, informed her she was being let go. No explanation, no appeal. As Kate walked out of the hospital, tears streamed down her face. Everything she had worked so hard to hold together, her job, her father's care, her fragile stability, was crumbling around her. She ducked into a small cafe across the street, seeking refuge. She sat at a corner table, lost in thought, when a voice broke through the fog of her despair. "Excuse me, miss, are you all right?" Startled, Kate looked up. A man in shabby clothes stood nearby, his face weathered but his eyes kind. "I'm fine," she said hastily, wiping her tears. "You don't look fine," the man replied gently. "Sometimes it helps to talk to someone who's been there." Something about his tone disarmed her. Against her better judgment, she invited him to sit. His name was Ian Bradley, and he spoke with a quiet empathy that made Kate open up in a way she hadn't with anyone else. She poured out her story, the pressure of caring for her father, the nightmare at work, the betrayal that had cost her everything. Ian listened intently, nodding and offering words of encouragement. Over the next few days, Ian seemed to appear in Kate's life at the most unexpected moments. She saw him again at the park and later at the cemetery, where she was visiting her mother's grave. His presence was comforting, but something about him felt off. He seemed to know too much about her, asking pointed questions like, "Do you trust everyone in your life?" And, "Have you ever wondered if your father kept things from you?" Kate brushed off her unease, telling herself it was paranoia, but Ian's words lingered in her mind, especially when she stumbled upon an old key in her father's belongings. It was labeled with the name of a bank she didn't recognize. Intrigued, Kate decided to investigate. At the bank, she opened a safety deposit box and found a stack of old letters and photos. The letters were addressed to a woman named Margaret, and the photos showed her father with another family, a woman and a young girl who looked just a few years younger than Kate. Her stomach churned as the truth began to sink in. All her life, she had believed her father was a devoted single parent. Now, it seemed he had been leading a double life. Determined to uncover the full story, Kate tracked down Margaret and confronted her. Margaret was shocked to learn of Kate's existence and revealed that John had supported her and her daughter, Lisa, for years. Lisa, as it turned out, was married to Rick Donovan, the very man who had destroyed Kate's career. Rage bubbled up inside Kate. Not only had her father betrayed her, but his actions had directly led to her suffering. She stormed out of Margaret's home, feeling more lost and alone than ever. That night, there was a knock at Kate's door. She opened it to find Ian standing there, his expression grave. "I need to talk to you," he said, stepping inside. Kate crossed her arms, her patience thin. "What now?" "I wasn't completely honest with you," Ian began, his voice trembling. "I knew your father." "What?" Kate's eyes narrowed. Ian explained that he had once worked as John's accountant. Years ago, he discovered John siphoning money into secret accounts for Margaret and Lisa. When Ian confronted him, John framed him for embezzlement, ruining his career. Ian lost everything: his job, his home, his reputation. "All those times I showed up," Ian continued, "it wasn't by chance. I wanted to make sure you didn't become another victim of his lies." Kate felt her knees weaken as the weight of his words sank in. "So you've been stalking me?" she accused. "No," Ian said quickly. "I've been helping you. I gave you leads to investigate Rick. I've been gathering evidence to clear my name and protect you from the fallout of your father's actions." Kate was stunned. Every odd moment with Ian suddenly made sense. The cryptic remarks, the strange appearances, they had all been part of his effort to help her. With Ian's assistance, Kate confronted Rick and exposed his misconduct, leading to his dismissal and arrest. Margaret, horrified by what she learned, offered to share the inheritance John had left behind. For the first time in years, Kate felt like she could breathe again. Standing at her father's grave, she spoke aloud, her voice steady. "You weren't the man I thought you were, but I won't let your mistakes define me." Ian joined her, standing silently by her side. "What now?" he asked. Kate smiled faintly. "I rebuild, for me." As they walked away together, the rain began to fall, washing away the pain of the past and leaving room for something new. If this story moved you, share it with someone who's faced betrayal and found the strength to rise above it. And don't forget to follow for more stories of resilience, redemption, and the twists that change everything.